Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to talk about is a three-watch collection. And what I was trying to do was sort of to try to get to the very, very minimum of what a watch collection might have. And so I thought, well, collection should have a sports watch, should have a dress watch, and should have a dual time watch. So what I wanted to do is just sort of take a look at these three types of watches and look at some different versions of the watches that there are in these categories. Now, the first one is a sports watch. I have on a type of sports watch. This is a Seiko 5. This particular model of Seiko 5 is very much of a field watch a sports field watch that you can, sort of a kind of thing you can go out and rough and tumble and not have to worry about it. The one here is a motorsport. Now, a motorsport is people who are fans of cars and so forth, and this one is one of my favorite. It's called a Chopard Mille Miglia. This particular one has a GTS power control, and the thing I like about it, the strap is is a tire tread, and otherwise it's it's just sort of for someone who enjoys cars, and so it's got a rubber strap, and that's one of the things about you'll find in sports watches. It's got 100 meters down, so it's waterproof. Very much. That's another feature of field watches. There's something about this I just like. The sports watch, how they're actually going to be used in sports is maybe problematic, but it sort of has that flavor to it. Now, this next one is another type of sports watch. It's called the diver, and probably one of the most emblematic divers is a Rolex Submariner. And again, it is a sports watch, but there's a term that is used for a lot of people who have divers, and that's a desk diver. Now, in my case, if I had a watch like that, a Rolex Submariner, I wouldn't go in the water with it. I just wouldn't. But this one you can. It's something about taking a really good watch and jumping even into a swimming pool. The bezel's manufactured it's a hard, corrosion-resistant ceramic. Now, why is that important? Well, if you're going to go diving, especially in the ocean where you have salt, saline water, you don't want it getting messed up. And it's scratch proof now, which is sort of an interesting thing. You have this Rolex Submariner that's as a sports watch, but you don't want to scratch any of it. That's okay. This thing scratches very easily. On the other hand, it's luminescent capsule, so that it actually could be used for diving if you go down and it got dark and so forth. And the caliber is a 3230. And one of the many things I like about Rolexes is the Parachrome hairspring. Why is that important? You can adjust it. The final one is the Pilot Sport. Pilot Sport, this is an IWC Pilot's watch chronograph. In flying, I used to fly, and when you're flying, the things that you need one of the things I think that would be very important when you used to fly, you would look at gallons per hour, not gallons per mile, but gallons per hour. And when at a certain time, you knew you have to land and fill up. And one of the things about this type of pilot's watch is you can set the timer and watch how and as soon as you take off, you can start timing it. Actually, as soon as you start the engine up. It's got a caliber 69 385. I did check on it. It's got a honest to goodness IWC movement. It looks like a pretty good one. Okay, next we're going to take a look at dress watches. And there are different kinds of dress watches. At one time, a dress watch was almost defined as a super formal kind of watch. Now there are things that you could wear with a coat and tie and look nice. I have on one of my dress watches. This is a FP Journe Chronomet Souvenir, and that's one of my dress watches. I like dress watches, or what are called dress watches. Now another one I like a lot is the Vacheron Constantin Historique Triple Calendar 1942. This watch is sort of represents what over time dress watches have been, quote, allowed to do to be considered dress watches. At one time it was hours and minutes. That was all you had. And that was considered a dress watch. Because if it was a dress watch, that means you weren't at work and a lot of other things like that. But this one is sort of broke a few rules. It's got a date, and it has a hand date for a calendar, plus it has a sub-second or sub-dial with seconds. And so you have a really nice watch, and also it's steel rather than some precious metal. Even this one, even mine is, it's got a second hand, plus it has a power reserve indicator. They're both hand wound. Which is, again, one of the things in a really nice dress watch, you'll usually find them to be hand wound rather than automatically. I'm not sure why exactly, but I'm sure you could get a dress watch that's automatic. In fact, I know you can. The ones I'm showing are all hand wound. Now, it's the best place, I think, to find a good dress watch is on the pre-owned market. I was looking at this one, this Vacheron Constantin Historiques Triple Calendar, is $24,100, which is, this in a way has a sort of an entry level for it's very expensive though, $24,100. Sort of a quick story, down in the lower right hand corner you can see another one. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but the lettering around the date ring, as well as the day and date, are in red. They quit making that one with the red. Everything is the same, but instead the other one is sort of a dark blue. It's almost black. But for some reason they got rid of the one with they quit making it. But you can still find it on the used market. Save quite a bit of money. Of course, it is used. Totally classic dress watch. This is a Lange und Söhne Saxonia Thin. Gold. Again, this is a dress watch. Hour and minute only, 37 millimeters. They tend to be a little smaller. Thin, very thin. The sense of a dress watch is that they're not supposed to be that practical. They're supposed to be, you're all dressed up when you're going out to something fancy, and they have to be thin so that they don't interrupt your sleeve, and you just sort of like would look at them every so often. And this is a great one. For a classic one. And the caliber is 3 hertz. That's another thing that I like, the slower hertz. Manual wind, 72 hours. And you can see the back. Of course, it's not an automatic. This next one is an informal dress watch. Sounds like an oxymoron, but it has most of the characteristics of a dress watch, except it is metal. And it has a small seconds. Okay. Otherwise, though, it very much has the characteristics of a dress watch. hand wound. This is a wonderful watch. And also, too, this one won a Grand Prix prize. Okay, now the last group I want to talk about is a dual time zone. And a dual time zone is sometimes referred to as a GMT watch. In fact, they're also sometimes referred to as Zulu time. I know some pilots' watches refer to it as that. Anyway, what these are also UTC time. Now, all of this refers to one of two things. The dual time zone simply is two time zones. If I'm here in the New York time zone and I want to keep an eye on what's going on in, let's say, Switzerland, which I do a lot of work with, I need to have an offset for that. Now they're in what's called CET, Central European Time, and that's a 6-hour offset. And so I was set my watch to 6 hours. Now on my, I happen to be wearing my dual time watch, and so I have this local time, and then the other time up here I have set to offset to Central European time. This is another watch, a dual time zone watch I have, and it has a little 24-hour time up here, and so what I can do is look at the time here, and then I can look up here and get the time when it is 6 hours later. Okay, now the first dual time zone I want to look at, this is one of my favorite watches ever. It's the H. Moser et Compagnie. The thing I like about it, it's very clean and simple. It's called the Heritage Dual Time. The movement in it is an HMC 809. It's an automatic, 72 hours, runs at 3 hertz. 19,900 is the list price. Now, if for people who do a lot of international travel or need an international time zone a lot, I use mine all the time. I have it set up on my computer so I know where these different time zones are. One of the interesting things about this one, the Moser, is that it has a really good loom. And I was thinking, boy, I tell you, you travel, like if I went to Switzerland, I'd get on a plane in New York and fly overnight. And so it'd be nice to have good loom. This also has good illumination for nighttime flying. This next one is probably the best dual time anywhere. And this is a Parmigiani Fleurier Toric Hemispheres Retrograde. And what it has, and this is why it's such a good watch, a number of reasons. First of all, it has day-night time zones. So, and looking at this, if it shows like you're in the daytime and the place you're going to is at night, or vice versa, perhaps it shows you it's like 3 o'clock in the morning at the other place, and all you see is that it's 3 o'clock and you're not sure, and so you just look at the day-night, and on that one, you can see it goes to the top half of the little day-night thing is white, and the bottom is actually it's a dark blue. And so if it's in the dark blue, you know it's night there, and if it's in the light. This movement was first designed by Michel Parmigiani in 1996. And the watch that he came out with originally was it's called the Tonda Hemisphere. Now, what I did, I looked at both of these. Now, this one is the retrograde is 24,200. That's the new price. I think you can find them discounted, obviously, but the Tonda version is exactly the same, except rather than having a retrograde, it's got a little window right here. This, by the way, is the Tonda Hemisphere, the one I could afford, and it's my always when I travel, this is the one I take. Let me say something else about this. This, especially with a steel watch, when you travel, you don't want something that advertises that you're rich or wealthy or anything like that. You want something that looks like a sort of a funky watch. The other thing that is really great about this particular model, it has what I call an eccentric offset. Some countries like India, for example, have a half hour difference. And so when you cross into their time zone, it'll be a half hour offset rather than a whole hour, gaining or losing. And so what you do with this top crown is that you set the top subdial, and then the bottom one is the coordinated set. And so when you first set the top one, mine's just set to a 6-hour offset, but you can to anything you want. Somebody could have a 45-minute offset and send it to that. But as soon as it's set, then when you change the time on the bottom crown, it keeps it all in case it's the perfect one. To me, that's why it's the other reason that it's really the top. It's hard to beat as a great dual time watch. Now, there's some that are just they're good watches for multiple time. This one I found I really liked. It's called the Sen 105 STSA UTC. UTC is Universal Time Coordinate. It's $2,270 on a bracelet. Now this one is on looks like a fairly inexpensive leather strap, but and then it has that orange arrow that'll tell you what the offset is, and so it's pointing at either about 207 wherever you are, or I'm sorry, not 207, 1007, but then the offset looks like would be 407. This is very similar, has a very similar format to a watch I really, really like, and this is a Rolex Explorer 2. I think they quit making them. You can get them pre-owned. They're fairly expensive, $8,000. But it's a kind of thing. It's a very simple kind. If you know where you're going and you're back and forth on it, it's a nice, simple kind of dual time watch. Okay, listen, I talked a lot about watches today. Let me know what you think. I'd be very interested in hearing what you have and what you think. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.